Welcome to the Mario Perspective USA show. Today, our subject is the return of the American hero. Yes, that would be Donald J. Trump, our great president. This guy is different. He doesn't take shit from nobody. Okay, Colombia tried it. President of Colombia thought he can, you know, square up to the President of the United States. What a stupid man. You cannot do that. And that was a message not just to Colombia, but to the rest of the world. We're deporting, every day, deportations are taking place of the most evil and bad people in our country. And I think this is very important. You know, some people on the left want to say that, that we're being cruel and this and that. No, okay? These people committed federal crimes. Coming into a country illegal is a federal crime. Say whatever you want. It is a federal crime. You commit a crime, you're a criminal. Make no mistake about that. Okay? So deportations are going on schedule. Right now, the first stage, the first phase is going after criminals. Then 1.4 million people that were already told by judges to get the hell out of the United States, who claim phony asylum cases. So they're next. And that's good. And people saying, well, they're good people. No, they're not. And all these criminals and all these gangbangers that we got to get out, and murderers and rapists, they got to go. We have to protect our people. This February the 1st is going to be a very interesting day. Caroline, the new press speaker in the White House, said that they are going to go with the tariffs for both Canada and Mexico. I believe people in Mexico have the belief that Trump is bluffing. And I think that's a mistake. Okay. Let's face it. And there's also a rumor, it's a rumor, that there was an American drone on January 21st that released two bombs in two different narco labs in the state of Sinaloa, which is a war zone. And this is coming out on the internet. I don't know if it's true or not. But if it's true, both the American press and the Mexican press, primarily the Mexican press, don't want to publicize it. Okay, they talk about don't invade our country. It's very important to the Mexicans not to have American troops in Mexico. Sovereignty, sovereignty, sovereignty. They keep repeating this word. Yet, every time there's a caravan, there's a violation of their sovereignty. Right now, Culiacan is a war zone. Okay? And there's no security. They just killed two kids and a father. And I'm talking about young children because they mistake them for bad guys. People have to close their doors at 8 o'clock and businesses got to be closed. There's no liberty. There's no sovereignty. She keeps saying, the president of Mexico, Claudia, keeps talking about sovereignty. What is she talking about? There is no sovereignty. 3/4 of the country is controlled by the different cartels. As far as Trump saying that the cartels are terrorist groups, the Mexican government's pissed off. Why? Because there's a lot of politicians rumored to be part of the cartels. Of course one thing about Mexican politicians, they're rich. They're very rich, but their salaries are very low. So the question is, how come they're so rich? I'm not going to get into that, but we all have a good imagination why they're rich. Okay? when 40% of the people who live in Mexico are really poor. And they say, okay, the people that live in the United States, they're actually good people. Really? They're people who couldn't make it in Mexico because there's no opportunities. The Mexican airport, International Airport of Mexico City, was blocked by protesters because there's no medicine for their kids who have cancer. But yet, the elites in Mexico have everything. Impunity, money, and power. So that's a country of the few. Okay? And they want the United States to always agree to whatever they got to say. No, I think the tariffs are right because it's sending a message. And I think the tariffs are right because Mexican government has a business. Poverty is a business. Send their poor people to the United States. Send us money. Okay? American citizens send roughly about $68 billion a year to Mexico. This is money that comes into Mexico that was not produced in Mexico, but is spent in Mexico. What does that mean? That helps their economy. And let's not talk about all the American citizens who go visit Mexico yearly, which is another $20 billion. So, if you add 20 billion and 68 billion, isn't that $88 billion that are spent in the Mexican economy that was not made in Mexico? It's American dollars. But yet they want to continue to send their poison to the United States. They want to continue to screw the United States with illegal immigration. No, it's time to the tariffs. It's time to do what our president, our great president, Donald J. Trump wants, and that is to put America first. You know, the Mexican president, Claudia, she's sarcastic. Well, what are we called? You know, the old maps, it was called Mexican America. Let's name the United States Mexican America or this or that, because she was criticizing what then Donald Trump, the elected president of the United States back then, was saying to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of the United States. So she's sarcastic. Instead of keeping her mouth closed and respecting, because there's a lot of corruption. And what people never talk about is the thousands and thousands of Americans who go visit their relatives or where their fathers came from or their great-grandfathers came from using Mexican roads. Mexican highways, like right now in the state of Sinaloa, are very dangerous. I had a friend who was in Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, which is border to Laredo, Texas, back in January the 8th, 2025, this month. And he was seeing so many American plates from all over the United States going home, going back, because they went to visit their relatives or their friends or whatever during the Christmas and New Year's vacation. But he was astonished because all of a sudden he started seeing so many American cars with California plates and Arizona plates. When you see plates from Texas and Louisiana and anything from the East Coast, it's normal. But when you see plates from California and Arizona, what does that tell you? They're afraid to use the roads in Sinaloa and Sonora because of the cartels. So now they gotta make a huge turn to go back home because it's unsecure. And the Mexican government says everything is fine and dandy. No, it's time We put tariffs on Mexico. It's time. Mexico doesn't want the tariffs. Okay. Stop the violence in your country. And don't talk about sovereignty if you don't control your own country. When you use that word, mean it. Don't use it just because the United States wants. What's the matter? Why are you defending every time some cartel members sent to the United States, like El Mayo, they said, well, the United States was involved. No, it wasn't. And even if it was, why are you defending a criminal? Oops. You're afraid they might spill the beans or what? No. You gotta come clean. Clean. Marco Rubio must certify the cartels as criminal organizations, and hopefully he will do that. I want to thank everybody for seeing our show. I know I'm going to get a lot of bad emails. It's normal. But we got to call a spade a spade. It's time to do that. We want peace. But when you have a neighbor, what happens when you have a neighbor and they're having a party at 3 o'clock in the morning? They're waking up all the neighborhood. You call the cops to tell them to turn off the music. Well, it's time Mexico turns off their music. It's time they stop the drugs because too many politicians make money off of that. And it's time for them to control their own country. And if not, there's a guy in Washington who's going to do it for them. You see, everything should be in their place. And if it's not our fault. Donald J. Trump is going to protect the American people because he's putting the American people first. Something Biden never did. This bullshit of opening the border for 4 years. What was the reasoning behind this? But there's an old saying in Mexico. There's no evil lasts 100 years and nobody lives 100 years. So everything comes to an end. And it's time to stop the crime in Mexico. It's time to stop the politicians making money off of the drugs. This president of Mexico, Claudia, is too much to the left. She's a socialist, anti-American. Okay. They all want to say they're good people. They're not. They don't like the United States of America. I like the folks. I'm a Mexican American. I protect Mexicans. And we want Mexicans in California, in Arizona, everywhere, as long as they come in legal. And we need to also provide some working visas. I am for that. But I'm not for drugs. I am not for somebody who says, sovereignty, 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 and she has no sovereignty in her own country. Culiacan is a war zone. Thousands of people are dead. They say only 800. Thousands of people have disappeared. What do you mean disappear? What are you talking about? Oh, that means they get kidnapped and killed. Then you find all these people buried in different states. There's no control. Now they're saying, the weapons are coming from the United States. Okay. That means you have open borders. That means you don't have people on the border checking people's cars. But when American cars come into Mexico, they're subject to search. It's time you start searching your own cars. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Please have a wonderful, beautiful day. And we're waiting for the 1st of February to see what happens. Thank you and have a great day for tuning in to the Mario Perspective USA show.